Welcome to another episode of the Amazing Marketing Minds podcast. I'm really excited here. Today, we have the president and founder of JLH Marketing and an international speaker, Jenny Halasz, here with us today. Jenny, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Thanks for coming to the studio and taking some time to let us get to know you.
Hey, thanks for having me out. This is a great space.
Thank you. So the purpose of the podcast is really to get to know you, to talk about marketing, talk about the things that you're fantastic at, and see if we can just get a couple of those little gems out of you today that we could share with people.
Secret sauce.
The little secrets. Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about you, Jenny.
I'm not really all that exciting myself.
Everybody says that. I bet you're super exciting.
I'm happily married. I have 2 children. I live here in Raleigh. I've lived here since I was really young. We moved here when I was in 3rd grade.
From where?
Well, from Winston-Salem.
Winston-Salem. Okay.
But I was born in Indiana.
Okay, gotcha.
But we moved to North Carolina when I was 2, so it's
basically, yeah,
it's home.
Right. Well, how do you like it? Do you see yourself going anywhere?
No, I love North Carolina and I love Raleigh especially. So
that's how I feel about North Carolina. I think it has this charm to it where once you're here, if you fit in, if you're good, if you get it, you're here for the long haul.
Yeah, definitely. I think the area of the country is just beautiful. Mm-hmm. And for the most part, the people are very friendly. And we have roots here. My parents are here. My husband's parents are here. Our brothers are here. So we have real deep roots here. I don't love it politically sometimes, but in Wake County, I get a little insulated from that.
Well, I hear a lot of good things. I hear a lot of mixed things, but personally, I love that you have the mountains, the beach. You kind of have like the best of both worlds all in one.
It was just at the mountains this weekend. It was wonderful.
Really? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Our creative director, who's actually in the corner of the room right now, is at the mountains this weekend as well.
Oh, really?
Asheville, I believe, right?
Oh, yep. I was in Boone.
Oh, that's right there. I've always wanted to go when all the leaves change, but I've never been able to time it. Or
it's hard and it's really expensive when they have the leaves changing.
Yep.
But
and it's quick, I believe, because once they change, you'll get some storm or something that'll knock the leaves out of the. Yeah, so you got to go.
Yeah, definitely.
A small window.
They're saying this year it's not going to be very good, though. It's been so dry up there that the leaves aren't really changing. They're just dying and falling off the trees.
That's sad.
I'm just kind of sad.
Oh, man. Well, then I guess that's... Well, this year I wasn't going to be able to make it, so selfishly. All right.
It sounds like it's a good year to miss.
Right, exactly. Well, so how does one become the president of a JLH? Can you tell us a little bit about JLH Marketing? What do you guys do? How did that come to be?
Well, you go downtown and you file a form with the Secretary of State and you say,
on the website,
hey, I want to be a corporation. That's kind of how it happened. JLH Marketing is just a consultancy. It's just my legal name.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's just me.
Got it.
I have some great friends like Chris Douglas of TMC, who I collaborate with a lot. And we, share work back and forth to help with that ebb and flow when you just have a few people working for you, or in my case, just me. But the buck stops with me. So the reason I wanted to do my own thing was because I wanted to do my own thing. I wanted to be able to work directly with clients and help them without having to have all that overhead of an agency. I worked in an agency for many, many years before I decided to do my own thing.
Did you do that right before going into JLH? Was it the agency, or was there an in-between? Couple of
JLH is, and I mean, it's not a creative name at all. JLH are my initials.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't know that. You could make it creative.
But it was one of those things where I was working for, I had the incredible good fortune to run into Vanessa Fox, who was the creator of Google Webmaster Tools.
Wow.
At a conference, and she and I just got to talking, and one thing kind of led to another, and she brought me on as a consultant for her agency 9 by Blue, which was based out in Seattle. But that didn't last very long because 9 by Blue, unbeknownst to me at the time, was in talks with RKG about them acquiring them.
Right.
So just a little bit after I started working with Vanessa, she came to me and she said, look, I've got, so I'm going to be closing down the agency. I'm not taking any more consulting contracts, but I need some help working out the ones that I have. Would you be interested in doing that? And me, jobless and with a new baby.
What a great opportunity, right?
Said, okay, that sounds good, but can I get my own clients too? And she was amenable to that. So that's why JLH Marketing, I was just needed something to run,
formalize it,
things through, to protect myself legally and to not be getting 1099s.
Yeah, of course.
And so that's how it started. And then when the work with Vanessa dried up, then I had enough of my own to keep going.
Interesting.
And that was 8 years ago.
You said 8 years ago?
8 years ago.
Wow. I'm sure a lot has changed since then. Do you still keep in touch with her?
No, I don't, unfortunately. She is a very busy woman.
Do you know what she's doing now?
She has a new tool that she's built called Key Lime Toolbox.
Key Lime Toolbox. Interesting.
And to be honest with you, I'm not super familiar with it. But
I don't think I've heard of it.
I mean, chances are if she built it or
then it's amazing.
Consulted on the building of it, then it's amazing.
That's so cool. Interesting. Well, what about speaking? You're an international speaker as well. And that's how I know you. And I met you through TMC and through Chris. But I've known that you were a speaker and I've checked out some of your stuff online. And you've done some pretty cool events, some pretty cool things. So how does one get into that space? Like, does this happen before, after, or during JLH?
A little bit of both, to be honest with you. The first speaking that I ever did was in 2007. SMX, former, I think they're just known as SMX now, but they're the Search Marketing Expo series. They took a chance on me with a little conference out in Denver in 2007 called Local Mobile.
Local Mobile.
It eventually became the Solo Mo series, the Social Local Mobile series.
Right.
But I mean, 2007, people were not ready for that yet. So the conference was kind of a bust as conferences go. Like they didn't
attendance wise or
attendance wise. Yeah. Okay. So SMX decided not to do that again. And then a few years later, they did the Solo Mo. But I think it was just kind of a little before its time.
Sure. Yeah.
The idea of a local mobile conference in 2007.
Yeah.
So
a lot has changed since then.
A lot. So that was my first speaking gig.
Do you remember what you spoke about then?
I do. Yeah. I spoke about the difference between using a mobile device when you're out compared to when you're in. And I still strongly believe that your experiences should be optimized for those two scenarios, whether you're, on a bus looking something up really quickly or you're sitting on your couch at home looking through stuff while you're watching TV. They're very different experiences.
Do you remember like going up on stage? Were you nervous at all? Was this one of the first times speaking, or what was that like?
Yeah, it was my first time speaking in a conference on search.
Okay. So you'd done it before on something else?
Well, when I was in high school, I was really into theater.
Oh, okay. Okay.
In particular, musical theater. So I had been on stage several times before.
Got it. Okay.
There was definitely still some stage fright. Because when you do theater, you get to get up on stage and be somebody else.
Sure.
And when you speak, you have to get up and be yourself.
Interesting.
Which can be a little harder sometimes.
I can imagine. I mean, public speaking is one of the most common phobias.
Yes.
I'm right up there on the list. I can talk to a group of people. I could talk to you. But if you put me on a stage and palms start sweating, everything is 10 times more
Yeah,
intense.
it's always come a little bit more naturally to me, I think, because of the theater experience and because I'm just generally a pretty outgoing person.
That's so cool.
But there are definitely times that I get nervous.
Do you have a particular speaking engagement that really stands out that you did in the past that's just, everybody should go watch if they can?
Well, there's no video of it, unfortunately.
Oh, no.
But yes, it was called the SEO Mosh Pit at PubCon.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
And it was an open discussion about what's happening in the world of digital marketing. It's been a few years ago now. I think it might have been 2014 or 2015, something like that. But on the stage with me were people like Bruce Clay, Eric Enga, Mike Green.
Interesting. So was it like a panel
I think
discussion?
Rand Fishkin might have been on that panel.
Okay.
Like it was, there were a lot of
good
people.
Bunch. Wow.
It was definitely one of those where I have to admit, I think part of the reason that I was chosen for that panel was because I was the only woman on the panel.
Interesting.
But I think that I really held my own, and I had a lot of people tell me that I did a really good job on it. But it was definitely nerve-wracking, and it was a keynote style, so it was in front of the entire conference, which at that point was about 1,100 people.
But it was also kind of like a panelist type discussion in front of everybody. Okay.
So again, you can't prepare anything. You just have to
answer questions.
Get up there and answer questions and wing it. I was really nervous for that one.
I've done panel one time, like a panel type discussion, and I find it a little bit easier to bear with than actually being out there by yourself, because I feel like the people there are, they're suffering with you.
Yeah, well, there's definitely that you can play off each other and of spark ideas in each other, and that's really helpful, I think, in terms of just you can actually sit back and think about what your next answer is going to be.
Correct.
Instead of
someone else is
feeling
answering.
like you have to be on it all the time.
So was it mainly just the dynamics and the fact that, it was all these notable SEOs there that makes the experience so memorable? Yeah,
I think I was just, for me, it's memorable because I was nervous.
Okay.
And that's not really my default position.
Right.
And I was nervous and honored and scared and worried I was going to say the wrong thing, and all these people in the audience and some Googlers in the audience, and it was
definitely an unforgettable
It's definitely
experience.
A tough one.
That's cool though. That sounds very interesting. Well, all this, so you mentioned, I understand how JLH came to be and speaking and everything, but at what point did you decide being SEO is that was gonna be your thing? What did you do before that? How did that happen?
Well, I graduated from NC State.
Okay.
So go
Wolfpack.
Wolfpack.
Right down the street from us. Go Wolfpack.
And I graduated with a degree in marketing.
Okay.
And a minor in psych.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 2000. And the .com bubble had just burst, and there weren't a whole lot of jobs.
Slim pickings.
So I went from like a couple of years before basically being under the impression that people who had, really good GPAs and had worked really hard and, were friendly with the professors and that sort of thing. Like people who were considered the top in the school of communication had job offers before they graduated. Mm-hmm. That was not the case for me.
Do you think it was just you though?
Oh no, it wasn't just me.
Everybody,
that was
right?
Everybody.
Yeah, okay.
That year was just really bad. And so when I started doing interviews and things, I pretty much took the first job that offered me any amount of decent money. And it was with a little company called allwall.com at the time.
Allwall.com.
all wall, and they sold posters and art prints for people to put on their dorm room walls.
Interesting.
And they eventually grew so big and so successful that they acquired art.com. And then later art.com. And then later were acquired by allposters.com. So it's a huge company now. And affiliated with Getty Images. So, I mean, very, very significant company. But they offered me a job basically managing their affiliate marketing team, or not team because it was just me, but the affiliates that they had working for the site.
How did they do affiliate marketing back then?
Oh, the same way. Well,
it's pretty much the same, or
they basically modeled it after Amazon's model. So at the time, it was just a percentage of the sale for any sale that came in through an affiliate link.
Gotcha. Okay.
But what people always find funny about this is that when I did the interview, they said, you know, some HTML, you know how to help affiliates set up their stores and set up their links. And I said, yeah, sure I do. No problem. When in reality, I'd had a web project due for one of my classes that I actually had to pay somebody to help me with.
Oh my goodness.
So, because I really didn't know much of anything.
You really wanted the job though.
I really wanted the job. So I actually went, I left the interview and went to Barnes & Noble because they still had those then.
Yes.
And bought the O'Reilly book on HTML.
Oh my goodness.
and read through parts of it that weekend so that when I got the call on Monday that said
then it was true
that said, you know, we'd like to offer you the job, I was able to, you know, take the job and be like, yep, I can do this.
That's hilarious. Did you think the interview went well? I'm assuming you thought you did.
Yeah, I thought the interview went really well. And they really indicated to me that the job was likely mine, but they needed to talk. But I also thought, HTML, they want me to know this. I guess I should probably learn this. It would make me more marketable and something else I could put on my resume. So interesting.
Well, then what happened? So you got the job there.
I got the job there, and I actually learned a lot of HTML there because I just kept that book on my desk, and every time I needed to figure something out, I went back to that book. And they were also doing this thing where they were bidding on keywords on this website called goto.com,
really?
Which eventually became Overture, which eventually became Yahoo Search. And Google wasn't even really on the map at that point. But yeah, I was doing these. So
you're doing PPC basically.
PPC. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It was PPC, but it was really early days of PPC where like we had a list of keywords we would check once an hour, a list we would check once a day, once a month, once a quarter to adjust our bids.
That's crazy.
But when we talk about adjusting bids, we're talking about allwall.com and allposters.com. And, we would bid a penny and then they would bid 2 cents and then we would bid 3 cents and then they would bid 4 cents. And it would go like that until it got up to about 20 cents. And one of us would decide it was too expensive and drop back down to 1. So the other person would drop back down to 2 and we would do it again.
Wow.
And it was all manual.
Wow. The things
there were no bid management tools back then.
No bulk edits, nothing.
No quality score, none of that.
Oh,
so it was just bidding up and down. And
I love seeing how much the industry has changed. Makes you wonder where it's going to go. I mean, just in a few years, it can change completely.
That's true.
But that's
really true.
Well, so were you helping with the PPC ads?
Oh, no, I was doing it.
Oh, that was you. Okay.
Yeah. Anytime I wasn't helping affiliates, I was doing that.
Interesting.
And then they decided to outsource their affiliate marketing program to LinkShare.
Okay.
And so I got laid off.
Right after they outsourced it, they didn't have anything else. So what did you do after that?
So after that, I was jobless for a little while. I did a bunch of temp work.
Okay. I mean, you're doing what you had to.
Yep. Got to work some really neat jobs though. Like I learned all about SSL certificates. I worked
Really?
for Thought Thought Security Certificates, which is a division of VeriSign.
Yeah.
So I got to learn all about how SSL works, and that was really helpful a couple of years ago when everybody pushed to HTTPS. I was able to say, yeah, I get this. I know how this works. There's a public key and a private key, and they have to talk to each other. And
it's good. So it's a lot of these little steps that I think eventually ultimately led to you being who you are.
I think so too.
It's interesting the path that life takes you on.
Mm-hmm.
Even some of those smaller jobs, probably at the time, I'm sure you were wondering like what you were going to do with this information.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, but then
I'm never going to have to use this. But okay,
right.
Now I know it.
Exactly. And then you fast forward a few years and you look back and you go, wow, that makes sense. Like, yeah. I'm glad I did that. I'm glad I went through that.
There was another one that I did at that time, Alcatel, which is, I think, gone now.
I've heard of the name before, though.
But they used to be.
They were a big company, no?
They were a huge company here. They had a huge campus over off Falls of the Neuse.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So I worked for them for probably 6 months or so, doing maternity leave coverage for one of their associates. And at that time, I got to learn how to use a database and input information into a database. So
interesting.
So wow. That was helpful
really
too.
A little bit of everything. Yeah, that led up to the big deal. So at which point, what was your first job or first position where you would say that you really started doing what we would consider like in today's age, like SEO?
SEO, yeah. So I did the temp work for, I don't know, 6-9 months, something like that.
Uh-huh.
And I was going on interviews and not getting anything. And, I finally answered an ad for a sales position for this company called Keyword Ranking, which later became WebSource, which later became MarketSmart Interactive, which later imploded when the SEC raided the company.
Oh, no. But before that happened.
But before all of that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'm full of interesting stories.
See, and you started this by saying you weren't interesting.
I'm not interesting. I have interesting stories. So anyway, I did this. I went in and interviewed for the sales position, and I interviewed with this very nice gentleman by the name of Andy Beal.
Andy Beal.
Who is a local celebrity for reputation management.
Oh, okay.
He's a fantastic guy.
Is he still doing that? Is he still around doing that?
For the most part, yeah. I mean, he's got a company and a tool, and so I think he doesn't. I'm not sure, to be honest with you, if he's still working or if he's retired.
Right.
He's just a really great guy. But anyway, I interviewed with him for the sales position, and he said, you're not cut out for sales. Thank you very much for your time. And I left. When I got home, there was a message on my answering machine from him. And he said, you just left. And I wish I would have thought of this when you were still here. But we have this account management role that we've been thinking about creating. And so would you be willing to come back in tomorrow and talk to us about that? Okay, yeah, sure. Need a job. So I went in to talk to him about that, and they hired me. And so I was their first kind of account manager.
Right.
Which was basically I answered the phone and tried to convince people who were upset about their credit card still being dinged, like $500 for a banner ad, to buy this new service that we had called meta tags.
Interesting.
And so I did that for a little while. And then I kept learning more and more about these meta tags and about SEO, and got to be really good friends with Ben Wills, who was the director of the SEO department there at the time. And it eventually just kind of happened organically. I just realized that I really liked SEO better. The company was saying to me, kind of, you have to dumb down these conversations with clients a little bit because you're giving them too much information. Well, you're just giving them information that they haven't paid for. We have a service where they can pay for this.
Right.
And and so it just kind of happened to where Ben said, well, hey, I could use her on my team, and they moved me over, and I became an SEO at that point. So I think that was about 2002 or 2003.
That's cool. Okay. Interesting. And okay, so now you're officially in an SEO role.
Yeah.
Very cool. When eventually you ended up at an agency, and then that's when the transition happened to
Keyword Ranking kind of became an agency.
Okay.
So
were you there when, I have to ask, were you there when all the SEC stuff happened?
I was.
Interesting.
I was working late one night, and
they just showed
up. Some official looking people came in and said, basically, you all need to shut down your computers and leave.
Whoa.
And they took computers and files and stuff, and we didn't hear anything more about it for a pretty long time.
Were you still employed?
I was still employed at that time.
So everything just kept going.
Mm-hmm. Everything kept going. Of course, the rumors were crazy,
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
And I'm come to find out the holding company that owned, I guess it was WebSourced at the time. The holding company that owned them had done some kind of shady stuff with accounting.
So it wasn't even you guys.
No, it wasn't really us. But some of the principals of the company were involved in some things.
They knew.
And I, to be honest with you, don't know all the details on how that played out, because a couple weeks later, they brought a bunch of us into the break room at 3:00 in the afternoon. We got an email that said, be in the break room at 3:00. And they said, you all no longer have jobs.
Ooh, yikes.
So there were, you'd have to ask somebody else who was there at the time, but I think about 40 of us or something got laid off that day. It was almost half the company.
That's crazy.
At that point.
Wow.
And then layoffs, just, periodically, every few weeks, more people would get laid off.
Yeah, I think a lot of companies, when they kind of hit that point, they kind of start doing the same thing, right?
Yeah, and then at one point they just shut the doors.
Oh my goodness.
So,
well, so here you are now. All that led to today.
Well, then I got the job with Acronym, which was amazing, which led to me being able to speak, which led me to being able to work with Vanessa. Okay. So, yeah.
Well, that's so cool. Everything happens for a reason. I'm a big believer in that. What would you say, as we kind of approach the end here, what would you say is like one bit or one tidbit of advice that you would give people who are in the SEO space right now, whether they're kind of doing it for themselves or they're working for an agency, that you wish they knew, or any piece of advice in 2019 that's still relevant as we approach the end of the year?
Yeah, so I have a few things and only a couple minutes. So I'll say first, don't think about where Google or the other search engines are now. Okay. Think about where they want to be, and try to optimize and build your marketing plans
for the future, basically,
based on where you think they want to be, rather than where they necessarily are. So don't chase that algorithm. Just try to think about, what their ultimate goal is. And that's going to help you get there. And then the other thing is just educate yourself. Don't just rely on what other people tell you. Go and do the work. Read about information retrieval. Read about web security. Learn about library science and findability. I mean, you need to know these concepts if you're going to call yourself an SEO.
True. Very true. Do the research, do the homework yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, there's a lot of, there's so many different industries where that can be applied. It's like, you got to do it yourself to teach yourself to understand the topics and everything.
Right.
That makes sense. Well, Jenny, where can people, do you have anything going on in your world? Where can people find you? Where can people learn more? Obviously, this is being done before you speak at TMC. So hopefully it's released around the same time. You can obviously find it there. But where else can people get in touch with you, Jenny, if they have questions?
Well, you could definitely go to my website, which is jlh-marketing.com. But probably the best way to find me is on Twitter.
Okay.
I'm on there a lot. And I'm just at Jenny Halasz on Twitter. And I'd love to chat with people there and jump in the SEO chats from time to time, that kind of thing.
Awesome. Well, cool. You heard it, guys. So if you ever need her help, that's where you can find her.
I'm pretty helpful. I think I try to be when I have time, answer questions and stuff. I have people DM me pretty regularly, asking for help.
It's cool that you do that. A lot of people don't.
Well, I really feel like education's important.
Absolutely, I agree. Well, Jenny, I can't tell you how thankful we are for you to take a few minutes out of your busy schedule to come in and talk to us a little bit on the TMC podcast here. I wish we could have talked a lot more. There's a lot of different topics we could have gone with this, but I'm happy that we got to learn about you as an individual a little bit more, and hopefully this inspires some people to come to the event, come to TMC, watch Jenny speak. It'll definitely be a lot more informative, educational, and make sure to follow TMC on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and we also have a YouTube channel now too, where we're putting all of this information, all of these podcasts. So be sure to subscribe to our channel there. Let us know what you want to hear more about, or who you want us to bring in and speak at the next event. So that's all I have today. Thanks for listening, guys.